Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So I was really stupid and the footage and the full rendered video for the spread before you right here was actually deleted and I can't find it anywhere. So I must have deleted it earlier this week and I emptied my recycling bin on my computer like religiously to keep space off my laptop. So I don't have the footage for that anymore. So I was kind of in a bit of a panic. So I decided that I would break open my watercolor journal by, I think this is Paul Rubens, and I haven't done a watercolor drawing or illustration, painting, or whatever you want to call it for a long time. So I quickly brought out my, I think it's my Pilot Color Eno in the color red and did some quick sketches of my OC Masaki and the kind of winter, no, not winter, I'm wrong, autumn outfit that we were drawing from Saturday's video. And I thought it'd just be cute to draw something a little bit more warm and him just enjoying kind of more, I don't know, I guess like autumn vibes. But the difference from how I usually work versus how I'm going to work today is that I'm going to do line work and inking beforehand. So the examples that I'm showing you right now actually show that I do line work afterwards with watercolor, but just kind of more heavily concentrated, and I use a thinner brush so that I can achieve much thinner lines. But I wanted to kind of take a different approach so I can focus mostly on like painting and the color. So I brought out the Ohuhu fine drawing, I guess like fine liners or drawing pens, whatever you want to call them. So I did choose 0.2 and 0.1, but for the entire line work for today's drawings were done entirely with the 0.1 fine liner. Just because I think the finer lines, I do like the quality of them, and I kind of wanted to add a little bit more detail to like certain aspects, like the hair, maybe some lashes, some extra like lines, and I guess like thickness for clothing and stuff for the larger Masaki, which is on the right hand side. But I thought also the little nib portion, the tip of the felt pen, would just fit nicely with the other two drawings, which are at a smaller scale. So I just drew something very, very quick. We have Masaki with a clover. I don't even remember if I colored the clover green or not, and I decided to leave everything in real time for the most part with just the cuts, so you guys can just see stuff, you know, moving in real time rather than doing a time lapse, which I feel like gets a little bit too jumpy, because I tend to either swivel my book or I don't know, like bend my arm in a weird way so that I can make sure to get the shot looking correct. But if I don't feel too conscious about keeping things looking correct, I will just like start turning the book and making sure that I feel more comfortable rather than having a good viewing experience for you guys. So yeah, me leaving in real time was probably a little bit more of a easier choice for you guys to, I don't know, like to view, if that makes sense. I guess it's not your choice, it's my choice. But hopefully you prefer the slower version for this, because I didn't really want to do the time lapse for this entire session. But for the doodles, I guess they're not doodles at this point because I'm taking the time to actually line them and color them in properly. I decided that it would just be fun to do a larger one and then two smaller ones. And I mainly, I don't know, I was in the mood to just draw Masaki in general. I want to do some finished illustrations of him. And I have some in mind just because it's been a while since I've drawn anything that's like remotely finished with having to do anything with my OCs other than like the cheapies we did on, yeah, Saturday's video. But I would like to continue drawing my OCs a little bit more, just for fun. I love the autumn vibes and the atmosphere, the colors, and just like the general like temperature and stuff about autumn is absolutely my favorite. So I feel like maybe it's kind of motivating me to draw a little bit more of my OCs, because I think Masaki's outfit for fall and autumn, or whatever you want to call it, is very comfy and cozy. And I don't know, I just feel like I'm in that mood at this point. So the one that I'm working on is just like Masaki holding a little kind of like coffee cup or something with steam coming out. And the bottom one that I'm currently working on now is just a small one, and he's kind of like putting on his jacket. Now, sometimes I have this thing where I have a habit of sometimes opening up Pinterest and immediately closing it. And I think there was a picture where there's a guy trying to put on his suit jacket. I think it's a suit jacket. So I just remember that, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just draw Masaki putting on his like autumn coat or whatever. And I placed his hand in such a weird position that don't look at the arm or the hand too closely for that one, because it's definitely off. But also the larger one of Masaki, his hand is very, I don't know, it's very weird. It didn't help that the joint for the thumb, or like the outside part of the thumb, became very pointy. It just looks very off. So you can tell I didn't spend too much time sketching these out actually properly. I just wanted to sketch something cute, you know, do something a little bit more warm and inviting, and then quickly do the line work so we can just do the colors and end up with something, you know, somewhat cute. Because I could have done these digitally, but I do miss painting quite a bit, and watercolor is just fun. It's fun to play around with, even though sometimes I feel like I have a lot of pressure to keep things looking a certain way, and I kind of feel like I need to teach myself again how to properly use watercolors, because, or at least use the watercolors on this paper. So for several years, whenever I used watercolors, I always used cold press. And before, I used to like live and breathe by the fact that I would only use cold press because I did not like the way how hot press behaved. And more recently, like in the past year or two, I've been using mostly hot press paper now. And after taking a break from just painting in general with watercolors on actual proper watercolor paper, my patience for waiting for things to dry is either very skewed, or I've become so impatient when painting that I was not letting areas dry properly before adding a new layer. So a lot of the times, especially, why do I keep getting a lisp? Especially the larger one that's on the right, I accidentally kind of layer two areas together too closely, so sometimes they have a little bit of bleeding crossing through. Or if one area is like, let's say like, I don't know, 70% dry, and I add a new layer kind of like adjacent to it, or even just like on that same layer, it just feathers out so much. And I feel like maybe it's because the hot press paper takes a longer time for it to dry in a certain way. I know this is not the case for like every kind of cold press paper or hot press paper. They're going to behave a little bit differently. But this one, it feels like sometimes it dries too fast, so I'm left with a little bit of dry brushing, and I need to add a little bit of water to make it budge a little bit to blend it out to make it look smooth. But then some of these other areas, so like while I'm working on the jacket, I had a lot of time to work on the jacket, and it remained wet for quite a while, so I had no problems doing like quick gradients for a lot of these, I guess, like places in the drawing. So I did a little bit for his face. I was experimenting on his jacket, so putting a lot of orange and browns into some of the edges that are getting hit with the rim lighting. And then as we gradually move away from the rim lighting and into shadow, I wanted to add in some of the more darker, more kind of vibrant greens rather than like the earthy greens. Now sometimes you're gonna see me place some intense colors, but because I have a lot of time to blend it out, maybe it's because the amount of water I'm using as well, I was able to quickly mix in that brown with the green, because I made a mistake and made his turtleneck brown, which didn't make sense unless I wanted to do like a beige for his turtleneck and do a dark kind of like chestnut brown for his actual sweater. I didn't want things to be too close in color, so I wanted his turtleneck to be a little bit darker than his actual jacket. And I feel like maybe I should have just changed his jacket color, to be honest. And maybe I should have made it more of a dark, muted, grayish green. Maybe would have fit better. Even more like a dark chestnut brown. Not chestnut. Like a a more grayish mahogany color could have worked a little bit better. But I'm very biased to like army green jackets. I've always worn one since like I think right at the end of high school up until now. I have 2 green jackets that I wear. I have one that's like pretty much entire of like the end of high school till I think I graduated uni. I had the same army green jacket that my mom absolutely hates because it has like 2 little splatters of paint on it, like white paint. I guess it's white gesso and it won't come out at all, but they're like tiny. They're like, I guess like to some people it might be tiny. It's like your pinky nail type size. And it's like one's on the sleeve and the one's on the actual like base of the coat. And she hates it because she thinks it looks dirty or like because it looks, I don't know, just because it's stained. And for me, like, I didn't really care because that's what I usually wore to class. And I was in a hurry to gesso my canvases so I could run to my art history class at the time. And I don't know, it took me a while until I abandoned that coat. And then I got a new jacket, which is another green one, because I just like wearing it. I think it also just pairs nicely with black leggings, so that's like my go-to. This is where whatever top, my green jacket, black leggings, and then either Converse or like boots is what like I usually wear. And maybe my bias is kind of like showing towards the color palettes that I like to use for Masaki, because like my winter boots are very similar to Masaki's kind of sweater color at the moment, which is kind of like a warmer brown with a little bit more of that yellow ochre kind of color. And then I also have like army combat boots, which are a very dark green, a muted green that kind of matches my jacket. So yeah, I definitely have a preference when it comes to that, but that's might have transferred to my drawings of Masaki, especially for like autumn, just because that tends to be my go-to outfit for autumn. And it reminds me of school a lot because autumn is usually the time when people return back to school, other than like, I guess spring? No, the beginning, so I guess it'd be like January-ish for some people. I definitely want to doodle a little bit more or do some finished pieces of my OCs, definitely. And like I feel like even though I probably neglect Sato and Koji the most out of my OCs, the ones I want to draw more like finished illustrations is Masaki and Akemi. Akemi, I feel like I've never really posted any actual like finished artwork of him. Koji, I have a few in the past, and some doodles with Masaki as well. And then Sato was probably the more recent one compared to even Masaki. But I don't think I have any that's like actually an illustration with Akemi that I actually liked and posted. I have like a few attempts in my OC folder on Procreate that like I've never finished, but I don't know. I will figure something out. There's some stuff I would love to do, but I feel like maybe it's because I keep trying to play around with funky lighting whenever I do like a portrait study or something like that, that I end up disliking it because I don't see the study all the way through, and it's because I don't do the session in one go. So I just have to commit and get something done to see if I like it or not, and you know, not space it out so much that I feel like I don't want to return back to it, because I know my habits and I am very much flip-flopping between spending too much time on a piece or spending too much time on a piece just to abandon it. So yeah, I would like to do a video on just like another keep me company video where I catch up on finishing drawings, because I feel like that might push me to finish the one of New Villette, the one of Selene and Reimu in the car. I feel like there's another one, the Danheng one. I'm trying to think if there's any other one. There might be another Genshin one or something, or even like, oh, I think maybe it's a 17 related one, probably like something to do with Wanu's Game Boy Weaver's Lives or something. But back to the actual painting. So I had a lot of fun just revisiting watercolor and playing around. I did switch between, I think, 2 brushes. So I have this one that is the, I'm blanking because I don't use this anymore, Raphael Precision brush. So this is the Raphael Kolinsky. It's a number 6 round, and it does have a bit of a sharper point than my previous Raphael Kolinsky brush, which is the one with the black barrel. This one's the brown one, and it's the more newer one that I bought a few years ago. But because I don't paint a lot, I feel like I'm still very much out of practice. So maybe I should plan an illustration too that I can actually take time to do watercolor painting again. I think the other one that I did more recently was probably, I think it's either the one I did of Ike, but I didn't do it on any of this paper. The one of Reimu or the one of Millie. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's certain mediums that I tend to gravitate towards too, and like the subject matter is the same as well. So the more recent watercolor paintings and drawings that I did were probably Niji-sanji fan art, if anything. And yeah, I think that's about it. I had a lot of fun just painting Masaki, playing around with the colors. I played around a lot with just like the beige, the brown, the chestnut brown, the kind of like pinky color, and then just a lot of mixing with the kind of earthy brown color with the green. It's just so much fun to play with that because I like the color combination a little bit too much. And I think it fits Masaki. Also, just don't look at that arm. I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, why? Why did I place it so low? Like his... I just had to bring it up a little bit. Like the hand position is fine as long as I brought up where the indication of where the arm would be, receding into where his elbow could be. It would have been looking a-okay, but for the most part, that arm is kind of... no. So I think that's probably it for today's video though. I'll probably do a quick overview after I finish up adding an extra shadow to his arm. And this is kind of like the little finished watercolor doodles. I did not color in the clover because I forgot, I guess. But I think that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's painting session, and I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Yes. I'll do a quick like mini... Actually, I don't think I do an overview of this stuff. Oh, I forgot to mention here. I was trying to show that I'm going to let this paper dry a little bit more so it becomes flat instead of ripping it out right away because it is on a like painting block. So yeah, I won't tear it out quite yet. So I'll just leave it in the sketchbook for now. But see you guys next time. Bye!